that has changed my life and my perspective on life so much. You can have a rich and vibrant, thriving life just gaming, and that I would rather have that than the arbitrary, trappings of patriarchy in society. And that is tremendously freeing and tremendously comforting.
They don't need to be into gaming. They just need to be respectful of the fact that I'm into gaming and that I view it as a valuable and valid way of spending my time.
I know that I'm going to get a positive reaction if I say, I've put 120 hours into this game from the gaming community. And if I said that to someone who's a non-gamer, I'd feel like I'd get a very different reaction. You don't have someone being, I spent 90 hours baking in the last month. You don't hear that kind of thing.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Gaming the System, the podcast where three intersectional feminists examine gaming and games through a feminist lens. I'm your host for today. I'm Jem and I'm here with my friends Alex and Matt. So before we get started, if you want to support us, you can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/gaming the system for some exclusive content, or you can send us a one-off donation via PayPal to our email address, wearegamingthesystem@gmail.com.
We are continuing our conversation about some research from Oxford, which has found that when it comes to gaming and mental health, it's not how long you play that matters, it's whether you feel that the time that you spent playing was worthwhile. We talked about whether that rang true for the GTS team, and I think we decided that yes, but it's a lot more complicated than that. And there is quite a lot at play as to why we feel the way we do about our gaming experience. We really got into the meat of the topic. So I just wanted to try and pick up where we left off and ask you if you've ever turned to gaming as a way to deal with challenges in your life, and whether you feel that that's a positive or a negative experience.
I'll say yes, definitely. It's funny, I was talking about pressure in the last episode and thinking on it now, when you frame that question, I tend to view gaming as a great pressure reliever. But no, I think generally if I'm feeling like I need to have a space to escape, we've talked a lot about how gaming is great for escapism on the pod, but also it gives me a sense of control that I wouldn't get from watching a movie or reading a book, for example. Because gaming is more active, I can be in control of where I take myself, and then also how much I engage with it, what I choose to do, what missions I choose to do, for example, if it's an open world game, or the genre of game that I choose to play. I'm the one in control of what I'm doing, and that also helps me to feel a little bit more solid if I'm feeling less than solid at the particular time that I've chosen to game. It really does depend on my mood, but I think there's a game out there, but there's a tonic for every mood. So I think in that way it can be very beneficial.
There's never been a time where it's been a negative thing. I think it's always been a positive thing for me to use it as a way to deal with difficult things. I'll give a really recent example. Yesterday, when the president of the United States of America was threatening all sorts of war crimes against the people of Iran. And, you know, for a few hours yesterday, it felt really really scary. We didn't know what might happen. And it was so helpful for me to be able to step into Enshrouded with Danielle and just, go and, I mean, we actually did like a really annoying dungeon, and we kept dying and we kept falling down deep holes, and really stupid deaths that were just really frustrating. And by the end of it was like, I don't even want to play this anymore because it was so annoying. But it gave me a few hours of complete respite from all this scary stuff that was happening in the world. I think that was a positive, because the alternative was that I was just going to doom scroll and wind myself up even more about something that I have absolutely no ability to impact or control. So for me, that's the sort of situation where it's been really, really positive for me to kind of just step out of the real world and into something that is either a way for you to kind of get stress out of your system, or it's a way to just switch off the monkey brain and, just go into the game world and just deal with the puzzles or the difficult battles or which keys you need to press.
It's just been Easter weekend, and I went home to spend time with family over that weekend, and we played a couple of different card games together. And it was really nice actually to play with family, because it just reminded me also of the social aspect of gaming and how that can be really beneficial when you're feeling low or stressed or whatever it is you're feeling where you're having struggles. Because me and my sister, we can set each other off laughing about anything really. Even we don't even have to say anything. We can just look at each other and we'll start laughing until our tummies hurt. Such a nice thing to be able to think, oh, this is what it's like when I play with my sister, because I haven't done that in a while. So it was just really nice. I just wanted to share that as another example of how it can be a really good thing in our lives.
So nice. That's such a nice thing, because, as Matt was saying, these sort of outdated ideas of gaming tend to be quite negative about social interaction. But both of you have, over the last 2 episodes, have shared these lovely stories of gaming being a way to bring families together and spend that social time. What are your thoughts on this, Matt?
Yeah, gaming has just been there at every single period of extremes in my life. And it has just carried me through them. Not carried me, but held me through them. Gaming isn't a solution. It's not meant to be a solution to things. It's a game to play. It's either going to be neutral or positive, regardless of the situation. And yeah, it's hard to put into words the profound relationship that gaming can have, and the relationship I have with it, and how it has never let me down. Not once when I've turned to it. It has never let me down to be what I need from it at that time.
Because gaming is such a fundamental part of your life, have you ever had any times when people who don't know you well enough or to appreciate what that actually means criticize the amount you game, or have people around you always been positive about it? I mean, do you feel like you've had to justify your gaming to people at all?
It's always been fine, really. And as I've gotten older, I'd rather have fewer people around me and game the way I want to than have more people and game differently depending on what those people may think. And it's still only extremely recently that I'm feeling more comfortable and confident seeking out new people and what is possible. And that has all been because of my gaming, that my horizons are broadening. I work on that and find those opportunities because of gaming, not in spite of it. And I think that's another critical message, is that gaming can add to your life. You can build incredible things through gaming. It's not just about spending your time doing an activity. It's about a proper soul to soul thing that it gives you.
On that topic of sort of judgment, do you think that certain groups get judged more or less for gaming? Or do you think it's more to do with societal attitudes in general to gaming?
Have either of you heard of the Kurt's YouTube channel?
Yes.
It's like a science.
Kurtz.
Yeah, sort of a sciencey thing. And they do these wonderful 10-minute videos about the cosmos and all the terrifying things about it. And so one thing they mention all the time is dark matter. Scientists have no idea what it is or how it works. They've never been able to see it out in the universe, but they can see the impact that it has. So they know it exists. I think that the dark matter of society is patriarchy and capitalism. And what studies like this can do is to go, right, we can see that star is moving around it like that, but then that black hole is over there doing this thing. What are the differences between these two things? When they need to be looking at what is dark matter doing around them and how is that shaping those things? Because the idea of what is happiness and what is fulfillment, and that's where all these old pressures can come from. It's going, are you a woman? Are you of a certain age? Are you married, or do you have kids? Are you married with one kid? Are you married with two kids? That's what the dark matter is. This person games a lot here. They're divorced and have 4 kids. Someone who's the exact same games and has divorced and has 4 kids, but those kids are different ages, or they have an amicable divorce. They could have a contentious one. They could be remarried. There could have been literally the entire gamut of human experiences. And the impact of capitalism and patriarchy just contorts our perception of ourselves and of reality so hard that it takes a tremendous amount of work to unlearn those things and to reflect on the actual nature of life, which is there are things that you need to do, things that you don't need to do, and then the things that you don't need to do, you can feel like you should do, but then you shouldn't do that. And you split things down to there are things you need to do and things that you want to do. And if you don't need to do them and you don't want to do them, then you shouldn't do them. And that sounds really simple, but it is that unlearning that pressure of going, I may love my gaming experience, but then I wouldn't want to tell anyone about it. I would be ashamed if I told certain people about it. The Angry Joe show has massively changed my life recently, because one of the 3 of them is called Alex, and I've mentioned him a couple of times on the podcast now. He's 6'5", and he's like hench, goes to the gym, really muscular, really tall, great head of hair. And everyone who sees him will instantly judge him as, oh, he's not a real gamer. He doesn't look like a gamer. He doesn't behave like a gamer. And he'll go, I'm a level 2 Magic the Gathering judge. I've won thousands of dollars winning Magic the Gathering tournaments. Look at my ring binders full of laminated Magic the Gathering cards. And he plays more games than everyone else on the team combined. He plays Magic the Gathering, which is probably the nerdiest game that's ever existed. And he's a former professional chef, and he just cooks and eats so much. And he goes to the gym. He games more than probably the three of us combined as well. He plays card games with his friends. His entire job is playing video games with his friends. I asked him, he's awake from 7 a.m. to 10:30. So he packs in more gaming than I do, more than I could ever dream of. He packs all that in. And I look at him and go, if I do a fraction of that, I would be happy doing that. So I can look at him and go, I can have a full, wonderful, thriving life. And that is a possibility because I can see him doing it. And that has changed my life and my perspective on life so much. You can have a rich and vibrant, thriving life just gaming. And that I would rather have that than the arbitrary, trappings of patriarchy in society. And that is tremendously freeing and tremendously comforting.
It's a curious thing. I was thinking about a kind of quirk of the gaming community and the way that we talk about gaming within our community compared to outside of our community. We like to boast about how many hours we've done things for, which is funny when you think about the topic for today. And it's like, I wouldn't really talk about gaming in the same way to a non-gamer than I would to someone who I know is a gamer. So, I know that I'm going to get a positive reaction if I say, I've put 120 hours into this game from the gaming community. And if I said that to someone who's a non-gamer, I'd feel like I'd get a very different reaction. But it's kind of an odd quirk of our hobby, of our pastime, because when you think about it from other perspectives, it's like you don't have someone being, I spent 90 hours baking in the last month. You don't hear that kind of thing. So if I was speaking about gaming to a non-gamer, I'd say, because often people who aren't gamers will ask me what kinds of games I'm into, but they won't really understand the answer. I think they're usually just asking out of politeness. So I tend to sort of give a stilted version. Because if I know I'm talking to someone who is a gamer, I can then go into more detail about it and kind of let more of that side of myself out. So it's not necessarily that I suppose I'll feel judged. It's more that I know that I'm going to get a more well-rounded response from someone who is a fellow gamer compared to someone who is not a fellow gamer. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
When we had Tom on recently and Jem asked us about passing as non-feminist men.
Yeah.
And that's what this comes down to, is that feeling of wanting to pass as this default citizen that you could go into anyone and say, oh, what do you do in your spare time? So, oh, I play games. Go,
Yeah.
what kind of games? Oh, I play some sort of action ones with my boyfriend. And then that way you present it as going, oh, she must not be a real, a gamer, because only boys are gaming. So she must just watch her boyfriend play. And then you can pass as the average person that
Yeah.
everyone thinks they should be. That's what they would tell to a stranger.
It's a bit like sometimes the way people react when I tell them what I studied at university. I'll get one of two reactions to saying I've studied Egyptology. Either people go, oh my God, that's so cool. Or they'll just go, oh, that's interesting. But I'll know that they probably think it's a really strange choice. But I feel that way sometimes about gaming as well. You kind of know who you're talking to and you can kind of judge it from there. But I suppose that's being, overthinking conversations again. But, it's about judging what's right for the people you're talking to, I guess.
Yeah, this is another thing where the Angry Joe show, Alex is really helping me as well. There's your soul. This is what I believe. There's your soul, which is the things that you love. That's what you are. And you can find people who you can present that like with as little filter as possible. So like with us here, the conversations that we have, like when me and Alex talk about Ghost of Tsushima and then Ghost of Yote, when Jem and I talk about The Last of Us, we can just immediately come, oh, do you remember that bit in The Last of Us? Oh my God, yes, I remember that bit in The Last of Us. I'm watching Angry Joe play Last of Us Part 2 right now. And we could immediately come together and talk about it for untold hours, any of the games that we've done. And then if I was to pivot to someone I didn't know very well, that part of me is still there, but it can't be expressed and it can't be seen the way that it can be seen amongst people who have that same experience. And it is okay to only hunt down people who you can have that relationship with. You don't need to be compressing yourself or diluting yourself to be appealable to like the large majority. It's okay to go, I am this. I know I am definitely these things. So I can find people who are also definitely those things and then only go for them. And that's okay. And that's a wild thing to go. It is possible to find people who you can be as yourself as you can be with as minimal filter as you can be. And that you can find those people and do that. And yeah, that's, again, another thing that gaming gives the opportunity for.
I mean, there's a lot to be said for finding your tribe. I talk about it a lot, but for me, I think I have multiple tribes because I do have my gaming tribe, but I also have my witchy women tribe. And there's plenty of people within that tribe who don't understand the gaming side at all. I think that the similarity across the board for that is that all of the people who I interact with on a regular basis, who I class as my tribes, are respectful of those aspects of my personality. And that's the key thing. I think they don't need to be into gaming. They just need to be respectful of the fact that I'm into gaming and that I view it as a valuable and valid way of spending my time. And that's really all that I think I need from the people around me. And I think that as I've built that group up over the last 10, 15 years, I think that is also had the sort of flip side impact of improving my relationship with my gaming side, to basically get me to a place where I feel comfortable saying that I game, comfortable gaming, and that it can have all of these positive impacts on my well-being. So I sort of feel that brings us full circle, really, on that topic. Before we finish up, I just wanted to bring up another study that came out last year, and again from Oxford. And this one looked at a way that we can understand the impact of games on well-being. They were saying that for too long, people have just talked about the amount of time that people spend gaming, and that's way too shallow a way to view it. And so what they wanted to look at is what are the potential health impacts, and then how does this relate to the individual and the context within which they're playing, and how can we look at this from a sort of causal perspective. And this is the initial work that came up with a list of 13 potential impacts, mechanisms through which gaming might impact mental well-being. And it wants to use those as jumping off points for further research so that we can better understand that, so that we can support people. And I would really hope that actually that information could go back into helping better games be designed, making games more accessible. Because one of the things that they found is that gaming is beneficial for marginal or neurodivergent players, like to explore identity, for example. So, we know that there are these very positive impacts. And I think they're trying to take it away from, as you were saying, Matt, in the last episode, this kind of outdated idea that too much gaming is bad and it's all about replacing gaming with some better, more healthy lifestyle choices. And what they're saying is that, no, that is a way too simple way of looking at this.
Yeah, again, with other studies, it feels like the person running the study might not be the kind of gamer that we would identify as. Because it feels like the way we've been talking about it, it's so feeling based. It's so, well, for me at any rate, it's my soul speaks through it. And to try and quantify that into these things, and it doesn't talk about why we're stressed. How effective can something be if you're stressed that your favorite football team is in the final and they might lose? Are they stressed because you're getting divorced? The cause and effect of things, it's too missing the point of it for me anyway.
I think it's very interesting. I'd be very interested to find out more about each of the jumping off points, as you say, Matt. I think, as always with any kind of study, there's room for nuance because we're all different. And there's a lot of different levels to a lot of these 13 mechanisms. But I definitely think that we've talked about a lot of them already on the pod. So I'd be super interested to see how the study goes, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's just nice that they're talking about it in a slightly more nuanced way. And they are recognizing that simple playtime is never the right variable. It's like counting calories without thinking about nutrition. I think you're right, Matt. We have to understand that we're so much further down this road than a lot of people. And we've been thinking about this and talking about this in a pretty hardcore way for the last 6 years. And I think we're in a very different place, but it's good to see that they're recognizing these different aspects, and hopefully that can give a better understanding as to how beneficial gaming can be for people. And then that will change people's attitudes, which then means that we can all feel perfectly good about our gaming and not feel guilty, and therefore get lots and lots of well-being points from it. So that's my hope. Anyway, I think we're done with this for now, and we will definitely come back to these topics going forward because, as you say, Alex, there's a lot to be unpicked, and it'll be interesting to see what happens in the future with these studies. We're here every Thursday with some sort of games-related topic, and we're always looking at how that impacts on the world of equality and diversity and inclusion. And if you have a topic that you'd like us to cover, please do let us know, and we will see you here next Thursday. So thank you both very much for your time. As always, I'll say goodbye.
We hope you enjoyed that episode of Gaming the System. If you want to support us, you can donate to us through our PayPal by sending it to wearegamingthesystem@gmail.com if you want to send us a one-off donation. If you want to donate to us monthly, you can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/gamingthesystem. Until next time, bye-bye.